Hello and welcome to another episode of Excellent Sports Talk. I am your host, Mark Bradley, and I welcome you guys back to another week of 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 sports talk. And I appreciate you each and every week coming to the show. And we have some good topics on today's show, as always, each and every week. So let's go ahead and get into some of those topics. So first, we are going to speak upon the Big Ten. The Big Ten is set to return their season in August. I mean, it's not August. August passed. October, and what this means for other college conferences as well. And then we're also going to speak about the NFL. We're going to speak about the NFL Week 1 full slate of Sunday games, and then we also going to talk about a little bit of Week 2, because the first game of Week 2 was yesterday between the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals. So we are going to go ahead and discuss that. And we are also going to talk about, of course, each and every week until probably the end of this whole shenanigans, the NBA playoffs, of course. So we are going to go ahead and speak on that as well. So I appreciate, like I said, every week you guys coming onto the show. If you guys have any questions or comments, by all means, please write them, and I will be able to see everything. We can go ahead and interact. If you want to talk about the NBA playoffs, you want to go ahead and talk about that. You want to talk about your favorite NFL team stinking it up last week or getting that win last week, go ahead. Please comment on the chat room. I will be able to see. I appreciate everybody who's come out from on Facebook, YouTube, and also Twitch. I appreciate you guys for coming. So let's go ahead and get into our first topic, which is the Big Ten is beginning to start their season in October. And as we all know, the Big Ten was one of the first conferences to postpone their season and vote against having to postpone their season. That was the first Power 5 conference that really voted against it. So now they are going to go ahead and decide. They all voted again and decided, hey, let's go ahead and give this thing a try in October. In late October, I believe it's the 23rd, if I'm not mistaken. So they're going to go ahead and start, and of course they're going to play basically their own conference games. And so this is a big deal. This is a big deal for college football to get back to where it usually is. And so it's obvious what the Big Ten plan was. They wanted to really wait to see how other football conferences, like a lot of lower end conferences, have been playing football since the beginning. And then the ACC, which is the first Power 5 conference to start up their football season, they have been playing for about 2 weeks now. And so the Big Ten was waiting back and was like, okay, so we're going to wait. We're going to see what's going to happen with the COVID-19 test, and if it's through the roof, we're probably not going to have a season. If it's controllable, then they're going to have a season. And I think that was their game plan, and my assumption is that they've seen that college football has been okay. That the tests have been mostly more positive than negative, right? So I think this was a clear cue for the Big Ten to be like, hey, okay, we'll go ahead and give this a shot. So the Big Ten is going to go ahead and start it up, and I know a lot of people is excited about that. And I think this is one of those one of those things where it's going to be like a domino effect. Now that we've seen the ACC has been okay as they've been continuously going on through the season, and now that the Big Ten is deciding to start their season up, I think this is going to start becoming a domino effect with the rest of the Power Five conferences. So as we all know, the Pac-12 has been contacting the governor of California, and they're trying to work with the governor of California to resume football in November. And basically, this is majority for those California teams and those Oregon teams who, basically everything is still kind of shut down. I mean, it's reopening slowly but surely, but it's not like full blown, open like many smaller states in the United States whose numbers is not as big because it's not a big state. California is one of the biggest states in America, so you have to be a little bit more cautious with reopening things than, of course, say, North Carolina and South Carolina, where, it's basically ACC country out there. That's a smaller state. It's not California. You can have those things open, and it's the same with sports. So hopefully this is a chance for the Pac-12 to really get back into football. And then we're also going to see how this happens with the SEC. Everybody knows the SEC is probably the best college football conference in the world, and I know for a fact that SEC fans are winning their football. I mean, I don't know how much longer Alabama fans and Auburn fans and LSU fans can go without having their football. So I know SEC country is just itching to get back into football. So basically, I mean, this is the beginning. I think this is going to be the beginning of football really getting back to where it needs to be. And it's exciting. It's exciting because we all know we want we love football, and we want to watch it. So it doesn't matter if it's college or pros. We all know we want football each and every week. We look forward to September because we know it's football time, and basically I'm kind of surprised at a lot of these numbers are maintaining to be low, because like I said before in one of my shows, it was kind of hard for me to really think on how college football players love to go out. They like to party. They like to hang out. They like to do a lot of things. I mean, they're in college, right? That's kind of what you do in college. And so far, these guys have been laser focused on their goal of playing football, and they have been doing a stellar job of really staying focused and doing what they have to do to even get to this point in having a college football season. And I'm certainly want to say, hey, good job to these football players. They're doing what they have to do, and I know this is going to be good for those who are seniors and who's this is their last chance to really get their film out there, so that they can have a chance to get into the NFL, right? So they're doing an excellent job of handling their business and staying laser focused on the season, and to where the point where the Big Ten, I'm pretty sure the Pac-12 is going to start in November, and I'm pretty sure the SEC will follow suit. The ACC is doing what they had to do. I haven't heard anything about the Big 12 and what their idea is as far as continuing on for the season. That's another great football conference. Texas, Oklahoma. Just some powerhouses out there in the Big 12 country, and I know their fans are trying to hold it together as well because Texas loves football, Oklahoma loves football, just all those Midwest states just love their football, right? So I think it will follow suit, like I said, with the Big Ten starting their season late October. I think this is going to start that domino effect of other Power Five conferences starting, and also like a lot of lower conferences outside the Power Five. They're going to go ahead and restart their season. Hopefully, I hope, or they're going to continue on with the spring, and that's fine too. That is totally okay, and it's going to be it's going to be interesting to see what's going to be the game plan for the next couple of months in college football. And I think it's going in the right direction to where we're going to get good football. We're going to get good college football. So that's basically going to be the end of that topic. And then we are going to go ahead and continue on with the next topic. And like I said, if you have any comments or anything that you want to make, please, by all means, let me know, and we can go ahead and discuss anything that to your team, your favorite sport, anything that you want to speak on. By all means, go ahead and comment, and we'll talk about it. We will talk about it. So let's continue on to the next topic, which is the NFL. The NFL weeks one. Basically, week one started last Sunday. It was a great week. We didn't know if football was going to happen, but sure enough, it did. And we had some exciting games. We had some exciting games last week, and I'm not going to go ahead and get into all of them because that would be just overkill. That would be a lot. But I'm going to talk about some of the games I was kind of surprised about, and some games, some games was better than others, of course, but there was some games that really shocked me. And so I'm going to go ahead and start with the Washington football team and the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, the reason why I chose this game is because we all knew that Washington wasn't really going to be good. I mean, they was going through a transition, and they kind of did that transition really quick from becoming the Redskins to the Washington football team. And we know the higher ups really had to worry about, hey, what are we going to name our team? We're really not focused on like the football aspect of it right now. But honestly, this game was a big shock to me. Oh, what's going on, Patrick? Cliche, but what is your predictions for this year's finals Super Bowl? It's way too early to tell. I mean, things is a lot different now that the virus is here, and it's not fans at some of the games. I mean, there has been fans at some games, but not like what we're accustomed to. So you'll probably have to get back to me in like maybe week 5 of the NFL season, because I truly don't know who's going to be good and who's not, because that crowd does feed a lot into these teams, and when you don't have a crowd, that it could be hard. So yeah, you're gonna have to come back with me week 15. I truly don't know at this point. So yeah, you definitely gonna have to come back. So going back to the Washington football team, I don't think anybody in their right football mind would have predicted them beating Philadelphia. But, I mean, it didn't look good in the first half. I mean, Philadelphia went out and was up at halftime, 17-0. We was like, oh, man, it's about to be an easy game for Philadelphia. But, man, that defensive line of Washington football team turned it on. it really caused havoc for Carson Wentz. And we all know when you get Carson Wentz under pressure, man, he panics a lot. And he's a turnover machine too. For some odd reason, when he gets hit, he cannot hold on to the ball, which was the same case for him this week. And once that defensive line got going, man, it was bad. It was bad for the Washington football team. I mean, not the Washington football team. Excuse me, the Philadelphia Eagles. And then they let Washington football team slowly climb back into the game, to where they went to 27 unanswered points, and that is mind-blowing for a Philadelphia team who has so much pride, who I still think they're trying to, ride the high of their magical season that they had, with Nick Foles leading them to a Super Bowl against the Patriots. I think, it's time for them to have reality. It's a reality check now. They really have to figure out, like, what's our identity now? Because you cannot lose to the Washington football team. They are a bottom feeder of the NFC East. You can't lose to the Washington football team if you expect to go win the division, right? You can't lose to the bad teams in the division. Now, don't get me wrong, that whole division is bad, but somebody has to come in last place. So, and it's usually a Washington football team. So that was one of those wow games to me. Like, I looked at the score and I was like, what? Washington won? What is going on? Washington won? Okay. That's a shock. So hey, look, Washington did what they had to do. They got the win. They started off 1-0, and hey, you can't complain about that, right? So we are going to continue on to another game that kind of it was shocking, but it wasn't. It was shocking, but it wasn't. Was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New Orleans Saints. And truth be told, Tampa Bay didn't look well at all. I mean, everybody was saying, oh, how Tampa Bay was going to go absolutely crazy. They have one of the best offenses in the NFL. You bring in Tom Brady, Ron Gronkowski. You got Goodwin already there. Then you have Mike Evans. You add Leonard Fournette. That's a powerhouse offense, but they didn't do much in the first game. Yeah, who that nation? They didn't do much in the first game. Excuse me. So, I mean, basically, look, this is why I say I'm not shocked about it, because look, there was no preseason. Tom Brady's basically getting acclimated with his new teammates. And when you don't have preseason, you really don't get that chemistry that you would. Preseason is a very big deal. People don't think it is because you don't record wins and losses, but preseason goes a long way, and you can tell this is a prime example of that during this game. So let's talk about Tom Brady. I mean, Tom Brady with the Bucs for the first game completed 23 out of 36 passes for 239 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions, which one of them was a pick six. That was a bad throw. Now that was like, what the heck, Tom Brady? Like, what are you thinking? Like, come on, Tom. That was a bad throw, Tom. So they got beat up pretty bad by the Saints, right? They got beat up pretty bad by the Saints. But this is why I think Tampa Bay is going to be okay. Excuse me. Look, Tampa Bay is going to be fine. Look, you have a leader in Tom Brady who's been through it all. He's going to get it together eventually, right? Like I said, you did not have a preseason. You basically just had to go ahead on the fly and really try to figure it out while you're in game. So they're going to get it together as the season progresses and they get that chemistry. And plus, they play the Saints team, who's a veteran team. They've been together for a long time. Drew Brees didn't have the best game, but look, when you have a veteran team, they've been together for many years, so it's not like they needed that preseason to really get them going. And look, we all know the Saints are going to be a top team in the NFL, and also probably Super Bowl contenders. So that's a tough week one matchup to really start to figure out your teammates. Like, look, we got a divisional game. We have to play the New Orleans Saints, who's always a good team, who's been a good team, like a 10+ winning team. That's not a surprise at all. That wasn't a surprise at all. They're going to get it together. They're going to get it together eventually, and we'll see what happens next week. We will definitely see what happens next week. And so let's go ahead and continue to the next game that was basically a good one. And that is the Dallas Cowboys and the Los Angeles Rams. And this is the first game in the SoFi Stadium. So this is a big deal. This is a big Sunday night football game. You open the stadium, it looks beautiful. I had the chance. I was out there in Los Angeles the first Sunday of the game of the Los Angeles Rams and the Dallas Cowboys. And I drove past the stadium. Looks beautiful. The Rams fans was out there tailgating. They wasn't in the stadium. I mean, of course, that's not allowed. But the Great Western Forum where the Los Angeles Lakers used to play before they moved to the Staples Center. It's like a lot of open parking spots that you can hang out. So all the Rams fans just hung out right there. They was hanging out. All the Dallas Cowboys fans was there as well, because we all know there's a lot of Cowboys fans in California. Let's not get that twisted. So I had the game. The atmosphere was great. I think Los Angeles is very excited to open up that new stadium. And look, the game was great. It was a great back and forth matchup between the Dallas Cowboys and the Los Angeles Rams. And look, we're going to go ahead and speak on the biggest thing about that, and that was the offensive pass interference called late in the game that basically decided the game for the Rams and the Cowboys. Now, look, I honestly was shocked about that call, because usually we know the refs don't call many penalties in the end game in the NFL. Usually they will not call anything. And I think one of the biggest examples was when the Saints and the Los Angeles Rams played each other a couple of years ago. And I can't remember the cornerback's name to save my life, but he ran the receiver over for my fault. I didn't know if my stream was going to go down. Oh my goodness, that would have been some serious. But anyway, so like I was saying, with them, he basically ran over the receiver, and that was a clear pass interference. Now that I was like, oh my gosh, how do you not call that, right? So usually the refs in the NFL do not call many calls in the final couple of minutes of the game. But man, look, Michael Gallup had Jalen Ramsey beat. He had him beat. I mean, you don't have to go ahead and extend to get more position. He had them beat. The refs must have saw something that made it to the point where it was an offensive pass interference. And look, that was the killer for the Dallas Cowboys. They was in it the whole time, but when you get the refs involved, things like that happen and you lose the game. So unfortunately, it's a bad start to the Cowboys season, losing like that. And look, you have to shake that off and come back stronger Sunday. So that's basically it for that. And then we have the Monday night games that featured the New York Giants and the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that was a cool game. That was a cool game. Ben Roethlisberger looked great. He looked great after his year off. He did a great job leading the Pittsburgh Steelers to a victory. And that Steelers defense is something serious, guys. They held Saquon Barkley to 6 running yards, if I'm correct, because Ben Roethlisberger had more running yards than Saquon Barkley, which is crazy because Ben Roethlisberger is a statue. Now he'll get out the pocket. He'll get out the pocket when it's like absolutely necessary. But look, Ben Roethlisberger is a statue. And when you can hold Saquon Barkley to more running yards, less running yards than Ben Roethlisberger, you are doing something right. And Daniel Jones had a pretty efficient game. I mean, he's just doing Daniel Jones type things. Not turn. Well, he did have a couple of one turnover in the red zone that hurt them. Oh, hurt them bad. So, it was a good game. It was good to see Ben Roethlisberger, who's going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback for sure, come back at his age, coming from injury, doing what he has to do and leading his team to a victory. So I know Pittsburgh is absolutely excited about that. And then the nightcap for week 1 end of the week is the Tennessee Titans and the Denver Broncos, and that was a boring game. I cannot lie to you. That game was very boring. And look, it came down to the end. Unfortunately, Denver didn't do a good enough job as far as timeout management, because they could have had the game, but you need those timeouts at the end, and unfortunately it didn't work out for them. Both teams' offense looked kind of bad. They struggled really bad, and it showed up in the game. I mean, that's another another thing where you don't have a preseason, and you have to basically have to get a couple of weeks to really get the offense rolling. So I'm pretty sure both of these teams' offense eventually will get better. Everybody in the first week, it was all chaotic. No preseason. It's tough. So yesterday was the start of week 2. And we had the pleasure of watching the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals. And, that's a huge rivalry out there in Ohio. And they have fans at the game. So I thought that was a good look for them because, everybody in Ohio, loves wants to see that. So it was good that the fans was able to go to that game. And look, it was an okay game. It was an okay game. Cleveland's offense looked great. They really stepped it up from last week, only scoring 6 points. Only scoring 6 points against Baltimore. That is embarrassing. And we've been talking about Cleveland's offense ever since last year about how you get Odell Beckham Jr., you get Jarvis Landry, Nick Chubb is starting to become a superstar. Then you have Baker Mayfield, who had a pretty good rookie season. He goes in the second season and doesn't do much. And then now, your first week against Baltimore, you only have 6 points. Now we're questioning if Baker Mayfield was the right choice for the Browns. We're questioning Odell Beckham. They talking about trading the man. Look, all that was craziness. And they just come out this week and go crazy. They just go crazy yesterday. They come out, play action passes, getting the receivers open early. They finally get Odell Beckham a touchdown. It worked out. It worked out well for them. And then Cleveland ran the ball well. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt is going to be a crazy duo, guys. Let me tell you, that's going to be a crazy duo. And Cleveland basically got Kareem Hunt for like a Burger King Whopper. I mean, like basically got him for free. And this is going to be good for Kareem Hunt because he's going to do a good job. He's going to share carries with Nick Chubb, and then when it's time for him to get paid, he's going to get his money right. He's going to get his money right because look, he was in Kansas City. Unfortunately, he had a bad incident that Kansas City had to release him, but that didn't last long. I mean, Cleveland was more than willing to get him, and so it's looking like it's going to pay off for Cleveland. If they can run the ball like they did last night, they're going to be a tough team to beat. And if Baker Mayfield can limit his turnovers, because he did have a bad turnover late in the game that really could have hurt Cleveland. And if he could limit that, if he doesn't cause too many turnovers, then look, Cleveland is going to be okay. Cleveland is going to be okay. And so Cleveland's going to be okay. And Cincinnati, let's look at Cincinnati's side of the ball. Cincinnati played a good game. Joe Burrow did a good job in the second game. Finally got his a couple of touchdown passes. And I'm sorry if you see me freeze on the screen. I don't know what is going on with the stream today. I mean, it was pretty crazy. Of course, we had technical difficulties beforehand. I was nervous how he was going to have the show, but anyway, we still rolling. We still going, baby. So like I was saying, Cincinnati had a good game. Joe Burrow did what he had to do. He played a good game. But look, here's the problem with Cincinnati's game plan that they had last game. They threw the ball 61 times. That is absurd, especially for a rookie who is his second game in the NFL. That is a lot. That is a lot for a rookie to handle. You throw the ball 61 times. Cleveland's defense is pretty decent. That's hard to do. That is really hard to do. And when you throw the ball 61 times, it's hard to win games in the NFL because you become very predictable. I mean, when you become that predictable, what do you think is going to happen? I mean, Cleveland's going to bring more safeties, more cornerbacks because they know you're going to throw the ball. And you throw the ball 61 times, you become predictable. And Mixon, Joe Mixon has to figure it out. He has to figure it out this year. They are not getting him the ball. They are not creating holes for Joe Mixon. It's not looking good for that running game. It's not looking good at all for the Cincinnati Bengals offensive line. They stink. They truly stink. I hate to admit it, but Cincinnati offensive line needs to figure it out and quick, because if that is going to be the whole season for Cincinnati, it's over with. I'm just going to be quite honest with you. It's over with. So Cincinnati has to figure it out. Cincinnati has to figure that one out. And so so Cincinnati has to figure it out. Cincinnati has to figure it out when now they have to get that together. So basically that is going to wrap up that's going to wrap up the NFL week 1 and week 2. And if you guys have any questions or comments about, your week 1 team, by all means, we are, oh wow, you can go ahead and comment. And I'm trying to get my banners right to make sure everything is good. We having them difficulties, man, but we're gonna chug along, baby. We only got 20 more minutes of the show. We gonna make it happen, guys. We are going to make it happen. So if you have any comments or anything, by all means, please put it down, and we will go ahead and interact. So let's continue on to our last topic, and each and every week we know what it is, and that is the NBA playoffs. Of course, we got to talk about the NBA playoffs, right? It's moving along. The NBA playoffs is really going crazy. And basically, we're down to the final 4 teams. We are down to the final 4 teams. Excuse me. It is it's the NBA season is finally going to come down to a conclusion. And this playoffs, look, I know it's been in a bubble. It's been in a controlled environment, the bubble. You have to make sure you quarantine. It's been a lot for the players and their families. But man, it has been a very, very good playoff experience. I think games have been really good. This year. And it's been exciting. So let's go ahead and speak on that. And let's begin. Let's go ahead and talk about it. No, Patrick. No. I don't know what that. I don't know what happened, but Anyway, so let's talk about it. Let's talk about the Clippers, man. Oh my gosh, man. Oh my freaking goodness. That was the biggest probably choke job of 2020. And I mean, close to NBA history. There's no way a team of the Clippers caliber should have let the Denver Nuggets come back from a 3-1 deficit. And it's the second time they have done it in the playoffs. This have been one of those like wow factors, guys. Look. And I was on record to say that I didn't think the Clippers was going to really give up a 3-1 lead, but boy was I wrong. And this can't happen. I mean, according to all the analysts, the big time analysts said the Clippers was the favorite. And look, the Clippers can't blame nobody but themselves. You was up double digits, game 5, 6, and 7. Games 5, 6, and 7, you was up. And you blew the lead in the second half. You cannot do that. And in game 7, a closeout game, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard could not make a bucket to save their lives. They could not score to save their lives. I think like throughout the fourth quarter, they didn't score for like half of that. And when you have Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, that's not supposed to happen. That is not supposed to happen, guys. And look, I think this is what I think. This is what I think. This is my opinion. I think when you have that type of pressure of being the favorites, I don't think Paul George and Kawhi Leonard really had that kind of pressure on them throughout their whole career. Let's be honest, guys. Paul George, when he was with Indiana and they was making it to the Eastern Conference Finals, they was never the favorites. They was never the favorites. It was always Miami Heat, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh. They was always the favorites. So he didn't have that pressure of being the favorite coming out of Eastern Conference. There was always that second team that was always going to play Miami hard, but we kind of all knew all the pressures on LeBron James and Miami. So Paul George wasn't used to that pressure. And then when he goes to Oklahoma City, you're in Oklahoma City. Nobody really cares as much as Oklahoma City as they do in Los Angeles. No pressure at all. You get to LA, all eyes are on you. You're the favorites. You're supposed to win. And he hasn't had that kind of pressure. And this is also the same with Kawhi Leonard. Let's be honest. Kawhi Leonard, while he was in San Antonio, played with Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, and Manu Ginobili. 3 Hall of Famers, easily. 3 Hall of Famers. Tim Duncan, he's already in the Hall of Fame, so I don't know what I'm talking about. Tony Parker's going to be there eventually, I think that. And Manu Ginobili's going to be there. So he was always that quiet guy who was just basically playing with Hall of Famers. No pressure. No pressure at all. All the pressure's going to Tim Duncan. All the pressure's going to Manu. All the pressure's going to Tony Parker. Kawhi was just that quiet guy in the background, just playing excellent defense. Really didn't involve his offensive game until his last year at San Antonio, when Tim Duncan and Tony Parker and Manu was basically out the door of San Antonio and retired. So that's when Kawhi Leonard basically, came into the fold. No pressure at all, right? He goes to Toronto, right? Nobody expected them to make it to the finals. Now, we knew they was going to be a good team, right? Because there was a good team already before Kawhi joined the team. So when he gets to Toronto, no pressure. I mean, we all thought Golden State Warriors was just a shoo-in for a three-peat. I mean, everybody knew Golden State was a go-to. Then KD gets hurt, and then Klay Thompson gets hurt as well. Now it's a different story. So now it's no pressure for Toronto because, look, the Warriors are hurt. So basically, it's going to be hard for the Warriors to win a ring. And, Kawhi Leonard, in that moment was like, okay, Kawhi really stepped up in Toronto. And you get to the Clippers, you're the favorite. All eyes on you. This is your team now, Kawhi. This is your team. You are the leader. You are the man. You have to figure this one out. Didn't do it. That quiet demeanor, it's tough. It's tough for anybody to win. And you can see it. No chemistry. No camaraderie. You lose a 3-1 lead, and now you're out of the playoffs, and you don't make it to a conference finals, and you haven't in your whole in the whole Clippers franchise made it past the second round. That's embarrassing. This was supposed to be the year. This is the best Clippers team in Clipper history. Could make it out of the second round. So the Clippers going to have to figure it out. They're going to have to find a leader in that ball club, either during free agency or a trade. I remember I was talking to my friend Clayton about this yesterday. He was talking about, hey, look, I thought Rajon Rondo it could be a good move for the Clippers because he's a leader, a vocal guy. He's doing that in LA right now, being very vocal and playing well. We all know playoff Rondo. He gets in that mode, man. It's hard for him to stop. And he's doing well for the Lakers. He's thriving. And you know, the Clippers need someone like that, someone who's going to bring them in, hold these guys accountable. Like, look, guys, we have to do better. They didn't have that they didn't have that with this team. And you can tell it was bad from the jump street because Lou Williams just left the bubble to go to a strip club in Atlanta for some wings. You can order wings. They can throw it to you in the bubble. You don't even have to leave the bubble. They could just throw you some Wingstop over to you. But no, you decided to go to Atlanta and get some wings. So you can kind of tell what it was about with the Clippers. And then you have you know you in the press conference, you know, they said Paul George, who's supposed to be the leader of the team, basically saying, "Hey, look, this is not championship or bust, sir. You are the favorites to win the NBA title. This is definitely championship or bust. This is definitely a championship or bust type of situation." And then the rest of the team say, "Yeah, this is championship or bust." So what was the motive for the Clippers this whole season? Like, just get by in the regular season and then playoff turning on? It didn't work. And then Doc Rivers have a track record of, you know, giving up 3-1 leads. He has a track record of giving up those leads. So, you know, it starts from the head and it trickles down to the rest of the team. So the Clippers going to have to figure it out next year without the playoffs. So let's move on to the Eastern and Western Conference Finals. And we're going to start with the Eastern Conference Finals as always. And so, look, I'm going to be 100% real with you guys. I think Miami is going to make it to the finals, guys. The way Miami is playing, they look like a bubble made team. Like, these guys are all grinders. We're talking about overlooked guys. We're talking about Duncan Robinson, who wasn't even drafted, coming in and shooting like he's shooting. Lights out. He was nuts yesterday for the Miami Heat. Then we have Tyler Hero, who was a low draft pick. Nobody thought him coming out of Kentucky he was going to be anything, playing his heart out. Then we have Goran Dragic, who basically found a second wind in the bubble. He's playing well. Then we have the closer, Jimmy Butler, who's when you have a close game, he's going to get to the line and get some easy free throws and make sure the game is out of reach. But look, Boston is shooting themselves in the foot, guys. We're talking about Boston is having double-digit leads going into halftime, and they're not closing out games. That happened game one where Boston went into overtime when they should have won, and that game-winning block by Bam Adebayo was probably the second best block behind LeBron James when he was playing Cleveland against the Warriors. I think that was the second best block I've seen in playoff history. Well, in my time, at least. I mean, of course, you know, I wasn't around back in the 80s and early 90s when I was young. But, you know, from 2000 up to now, that was one of the best blocks I've seen in some time. And, man, Jason Tatum was coming in so much force. And just looking at the replay, Bam Adebayo's whole hand was, like, back in the rim. I thought he was going to break his wrist, how much force Jason Tatum came in with look, that was so crazy, guys. That was so crazy. So I thought that was a great block, guys. I thought that was a great block. And then game two was no different, man. Look, Boston was up. They had to close that game out. Right? And so they did it. They just did it. And to the point where, look, the team is unraveling. We have, you know, players yelling at each other. We all heard about Marcus Smart really, having a tough time losing these games, going on this wild profanity and profanity rant to the teammates. Jaylen Brown's going back at him. It was just crazy. It was crazy. But look, Boston has to win game 2, has to win game 2 and game 3. Because when you go down 3-0, oh, it's over. It's over if you go down 3-0. No team has ever came back from a 3-0 lead. And then if you go down 3-1, look, it's obviously not impossible because Denver has been doing it, but I don't think Miami's going to allow that to happen to Boston. So they have to figure out. They have to figure that one out. So we're going to go ahead and speak on the Western Conference Finals now. And sorry, guys, on Facebook, I'm having technical difficulties. So I am sorry. I cannot see your comment. And I truly do apologize about this, guys. Hopefully next week this will not happen. And we're going to make sure we do better. So we're going to go ahead and speak on the Western Conference for our last couple of minutes of the show. Probably going to end it early because I can't see what's going on. We have the Denver Nuggets and the Los Angeles Lakers. I don't think anybody expected this to happen. We was all looking forward to the LA rivalry in the Western Conference Finals. That's what's talked about for the whole season. And so here we are. And so the Lakers won the season series against the Denver Nuggets. I believe it was 3-1. I could be wrong, or 2-1. I think it was 3-1. Denver did win the game, but majority of the Lakers handled their business against the Denver Nuggets. Now, this is a lot different this time around, because Jokic went into the NBA restart, lost a lot of weight, looks a lot more mobile, looks a lot more, shiftier than he does, without the added weight. Jamal Murray is becoming that superstar that I thought he was going to be. I thought Jamal was an above average point guard, but he's kind of taking a step up now in a bubble. And they're playing well. Now look, Anthony Davis kind of abused Nikola Jokic during the regular season, doing whatever he wanted to Jokic, because he was so much more agile than Nikola Jokic at the time. But like I said, now that Jokic lost a lot of weight, it could be different. Now we know Jokic is kind of a slower center, but he can shoot, and he has a beautiful touch around the rim. And they're going to give him a lot of pick and roll situations to see if the Lakers big man can handle it, which I think is going to be good. But look, here's the deal. When you have LeBron James on your team, it's going to be hard to beat them, guys. It's going to be hard to beat them. Now, I heard a lot about, they saying Denver have a good chance to beat them, and I think it's going to be a tough series. I think it's not going to be easy as I think. Now, I was on record to saying, the Lakers going to go 6 games with a lot of these teams, but they went 5 with Portland, and they went 5 with Houston. Now, I think the Lakers are going to move on to the finals in 6 games, and they're going to go ahead and handle their business. And I think it's going to be Miami and Los Angeles at the end. And look, I think that's going to be a big deal because LeBron James coming back to face his old team that he won so many rings for in Miami. Now he's against them. Man, just imagine if they had fans in the stadium, guys. That would have been so amazing to see. Man. That would have been, I would have been all for that one. So I see Miami, and I see the Lakers in Miami in the finals, and I don't want to move ahead, so we're going to go ahead and just settle that there. And yeah, guys, so that's the end of the show. I appreciate everybody who came to the show. Unfortunately, I couldn't see majority of the comments because it was a lot of junk going on today. I hope this doesn't happen next week because I do appreciate quality and I do want to give the best quality to you guys. And so we'll be back next week, same time, same place, right here at 12 noon. And I hope to see you guys there as always. So if you guys are on Twitch, I'm going to host you over to DTM Juju. He's currently playing the alpha of Call of Duty Cold War that's going to be coming out in a couple of months. So we're going to go ahead and host him and everybody else on Facebook and YouTube. I will see you guys next week and same time, same place. All right, guys. So peace.